So do you want to walk us through your standard here so we can kind of see the parts of it, and then maybe we can then
Yeah.
help us choose which one we want to focus on for our learning progression.
Okay. Well, it's from the Minnesota Language Arts Standards, and I don't remember which grade it was under. It was either the 9-10 or the 11-12. I was looking for a short one, and the one I came up with is says produce clear and coherent writing in which the development, organization, and style are appropriate to task, purpose, and audience. And then it says in parentheses, grade-specific expectations for writing types are defined in standards 1 through 3 above. So I'm not sure if this was even one I was supposed to kind of pick. But yeah, so I decided that I thought that the skill was to produce, and I put in parentheses write. The concept, this is what I had changed.
Okay.
Because originally I said I thought the concept was development, organization, and style, and that the context was the task, purpose, and audience. And then when I looked back at it, that didn't seem right at all, so I thought the skill was to write. Well, I think I have the same thing for skill and context, that the skill is produce or write, and then the context is in writing. So I think it doesn't sound right. So maybe the context is supposed to be task, purpose, and audience. I'm not sure.
What do you think, Sarah, on that one?
When I look at it, this part here that says the grade-specific expectations for writing types are defined in the other standards, do you remember what that says? Like, is it like essays or research papers? Like, is that what they mean by writing types here?
I think it is, although I didn't look very closely at that.
So I think my personal thought is that maybe that would be the context, depending on what what kind of assignment you would be giving your students. Would it be to be doing a research paper, or would it be to be doing a, I don't know, some sort of narrative piece, or in a different kind of writing that they would be doing?
Well, and that's kind of, I think, what I was thinking in the first place for the context is that task, it is a certain writing task. And then that task will have a purpose and an audience. So the concept, I think, really is still making sure your development, organization, and style fit what you're writing.
Yeah, so I would agree that it sounds like writing is the context, and the standard calls out that there are certain specific writing types that aren't in this particular standard, but it's going to be given at another time.
Yeah.
Depending upon, because otherwise it might be a really long standard if they're spelling out every single writing type for every grade level.
Yeah.
So I think with this, go ahead.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted me to keep explaining what else I had written.
Let's do that.
Okay. So after I figured out the skill, concept, and context, then I came up with 4. What do we call them? Strands?
I think the word I saw, and I think a strand is fine. I think components I saw, maybe elements. Those are terms we could use.
And this part got really repetitive, and actually, really repetitive. I think there's a mistake on here. I'm gonna delete a line that's just redundant.
Okay. Yeah, I think that helps a little bit.
Okay, so produce clear, coherent writing in which the development is appropriate to the task, purpose, and audience. And then produce clear, coherent writing in which the organization is appropriate to the task, purpose, and audience. And produce clear, coherent writing in which the style is appropriate to the task, purpose, and audience. So, and then I thought, if you really wanted to explode it out, you could just write one for each task, one for, different purposes, and one for different audiences. But then those three seem linked. Like the task seems to have a purpose and audience with it. So I guess I focused on that there's three things they're working on: their development, their organization, and their style. And those things could be worked on separately.
Sure.
If that
Oh
makes
yeah,
sense.
I think that makes total sense.
Oh.
So let's
Okay.
go ahead and move to the learning progression part of this. So we'll let Sarah Jones, we'll let you go ahead and choose which of those three, since you're the non-English teacher among the three of us here. You
Well,
you
I
choose
don't
the
know.
one.
I don't know which one is which would be most beneficial.
Okay. Sheila, can you think of one that you would like to focus on of those three?
I guess I would probably say organization.
Okay. Do you want to copy that and paste it into that the first box where it says learning objective?
Okay.
I think that's really helpful. In my class, we do a lot of like nonfiction writing, and I have a really hard time getting my students to organize things. So I'm interested to hear what the English teachers have to say.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do now. I'm gonna step out of the way, and I'm going to center this so people watching can see what we're doing here. And if anybody is in the live chat event, they can certainly be wanting to participate as well. So here we have our learning objective, and so what we want to do is identify any sub-skills or knowledge. And I have 3 boxes, but there certainly can be more. So why don't the two of you are a team, you have to teach this, and now you know what the objective is, but you need to know how you're going to break that into its building block parts. So you go ahead and do that, and I'll listen and enjoy, and then ask any questions if I need to.
Okay.
Sounds great.
So, Sarah, what kind of writing do you have your students do?
We do a lot of nonfiction writing. We do a lot of like explaining content and describing different things like that in my science classroom. So.
Okay. So, do you have them organize it by like main idea and supporting details, or?
A lot of times we do things like that. Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to put that in as a sub-skill, because if students don't know main idea and supporting details, they won't know to do that.
What else, in like a broader sense, what else would you include here if it wasn't for a task that would be like more narrow?
Right. Usually I probably kind of stick to the 5-paragraph essay the most often, because it seems like a lot of students either already know it or it's easy enough to explain. So I guess I would just call that a 5-paragraph essay structure.
Okay.
And then if they don't know that structure, I would remind them that there's an introduction, body, like usually 3, but there could be other 3. Well, in 5, yes, there would be 3. 3 body paragraphs and a conclusion. And I would want them to have the knowledge that there are other. This is where it would be helpful to know the task.
Yeah, I know.
Because there's so many ways to organize, and obviously 5-paragraph essay is one of them, you know.
So
So maybe just say that that is the task that we're working on, is having them.
So one thing I might point out is one of the steps that Popham talks about is determining an assessment procedure that'll master the goal. And he has that statement, if the student can do blank, they have mastered blank. So if we go
So
up to
maybe
that
adding
learning
that
objective,
in to the top.
yeah, so what do you guys think the student needs to do in order to show that they can produce clear and coherent writing in which the organization is appropriate to the task, purpose, and audience? So that would be, maybe that would help you then know exactly what they have to do at the end to show that they've mastered that particular objective. And I'm wondering, are you saying they have to write a 5-paragraph essay? Is that going to be the...
Well, we could say that, or we could say that if the student has a task, they could decide on what structure they want to use. One of those could be the 5-paragraph essay, but it could be a compare and contrast essay, or it could be another format. Because not all writing tasks are even essays, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think because the context isn't necessarily defined, we would have to maybe define what it would be by writing that.
So you're saying up here where it says instead of appropriate to the task, we would change the task to a task?
Maybe.
So, okay. So do you want to say it's a 5-paragraph essay then? Or
sure. I mean,
that's fine with me.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting discussion that the two of you are having, because I think this particular benchmark is very, very broad. It leaves a lot of decision making up to the two of you, you know, what kind of writing and all of that.
And then I'm going to put in like no.
So here's a question for you, Sheila. You know, you had talked about the task, purpose, and audience.
Right.
Might you make a decision here where you just want to focus on one of those three for this particular objective, like produce clear and coherent writing in which the organization is appropriate to the audience, or thinking if you did something like that, then the 5-paragraph essay certainly does have a certain audience that it would be appropriate for.
Well, I would almost want to say produce clear and coherent writing in which the organization is appropriate to a 5-paragraph essay, period. And then deal with purpose and audience separately.
Well, let's do that then.
Okay.
So then we would be able to say if the students are able to write a 5-paragraph essay, then we know that they have met this standard, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And I don't remember what the correct format for that is. Oh yeah, then they have mastered the learning objective, right?
Yeah, if the student can, like you said, write a proper 5-paragraph essay, they have mastered, or they have mastered the objective, or you could say almost they have produced clear and coherent writing. But then why would you want to repeat that again? So I wouldn't do that.
So is it all right just that way?
Well, you guys are the the teachers who are going to
What do you
have
think, Sheila?
to teach this and assess this.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Okay. So I just want to point out how it was interesting that the learning objective had to be altered a bit in order for us to kind of get our heads around exactly how we would go about teaching that.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that's okay for a teacher to do that, or is that like a no-no?
Well, I think in this case, like you were saying, that the context that they provided is really broad and without a specific place. I mean, I know that, as you're looking at your scope and sequence throughout your school year, you're going to be thinking, okay, well, in this unit, we're going to do a 5-paragraph essay, but in this unit, we're going to do a compare and contrast essay. And so I think that you kind of have to look at a bigger picture with that as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the chat, and Andre has pointed out, Andre has said perhaps we could use a science topic. And certainly, if the two of you were in a cross-curricular team, you probably have to talk about how you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at our time, which is starting to run short, and I want to be able to honor your time, can we come up with then, since now that we have the way we're gonna, we know that students are gonna show their mastery, can we finish up the sub-skill knowledge parts? Because I'm wondering, is the 5-paragraph essay structure, is that still a part we're going to need to teach? Is there anything we're missing?
Assessing if the learning objective is that they do a proper 5-paragraph essay, then I'd say we definitely need to teach what are the parts of a 5-paragraph essay. So that's the structure. Mm-hmm. Each paragraph needs to have a main idea and supporting details. Each of those body paragraphs will need those. I think the only thing we're missing kind of here is the topic. So I like the suggestion that it could be a science topic, because really they're going to need to have the knowledge of...
Oops.
Sorry. Yes. Oh, boy.
Well, it's a good thing you weren't on camera there, although it's been kind of fun to watch.
Woo! I was going to say something, though. Shoot, what was it?
I think you were talking about topic.
Oh, well, just that whatever their 5-paragraph essay is about, obviously they're going to need the knowledge of their topic to be able to come up with their main ideas, their introduction and conclusion. So so I would put that in sub-skill / knowledge, like adequate knowledge of their topic. Would that, or does it need to be really specific, like everybody's writing about the same thing, like all the students?
Well, those are really good questions, Sarah. So I mean, I know you're this isn't a science topic, but so you're in science, of course. Content knowledge is key. You're really assessing, do they understand the concept?
Yep.
And sometimes in English, we have to use a content, even though we're not assessing it. So in this case, when I look at our learning progression, and I look at what we're trying to assess, the content really isn't there. So what do you guys think? Is if we throw sufficient knowledge of their topic in there, is that really what we're trying to teach in this particular instance? Does the standard say anything about knowledge of any kind of content or topic?
I mean, it doesn't say that you need knowledge, but I guess that goes to purpose and audience, which we kind of cut out.
How about the clear and coherent part in there?
Oh, clear and coherent, Sarah, you're saying that might be
what
something?
About how do those, I mean, so if they have a 5-paragraph essay, does that ensure that it's going to be clear and coherent, or is that something, is that an additional piece that needs to be in there?
Okay. What do you think on that one, Sheila? Would that be a sub-skill or knowledge?
Yeah, I do. I'm thinking that what makes it clear and coherent will be transition statements or transition sentences or words
Okay.
between the paragraphs.
So then would that be the third part that we would need?
So that might be more sub-skill or knowledge in transitions and things like that.
Okay.
So I think the last thing that I'm going to have us do, and I appreciate if you guys are willing to spend like 5 minutes more.
Sure.
We have our sub skills, and we have a really clear learning objective and how we're going to measure it. But my question is, I don't know that we have measurable sub skills or knowledge. For instance, we have main idea and supporting details, but there's not a verb statement that indicates any kind of measurability. So how are we going to measure main idea? What are they going to do so that they know it?
Could it be that they state the main idea? Could it be as simple as that they state the main idea and supporting details? Or outline?
If you determine that, if that's the way you think makes sense and that you want to assess, I think absolutely.
I would say outline the main idea and supporting details.
Okay. So let's go ahead and put that in there. All right, and then what about the next one, the 5-paragraph essay? What kind of assessment would we be looking for there?
Well, if they use the format,
so like along the way in our instruction, we would say, okay, here's how you're going to write a 5-paragraph essay. You'd have an introduction and then 3 body paragraphs and then a conclusion. And so what would we need to do in order to make sure that they understood that, right?
Yeah.
So we would see it in the end in their paragraph or in their essay that they would have those 5 paragraphs. But would there be a way that we would check along the way before that? Or that we could check along the way before that?
Yeah.
I mean, again,
they could plan it out somehow.
Yeah, I was going to say, would it be like part of their, like, would it be that they would outline those 5 paragraphs?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess they would probably outline the whole thing, and then the main idea and supporting details would go under the body paragraphs.
Mm-hmm.
Would identify work as a verb?
Oh, there you go.
If they have the outline, then would we assess them by saying, okay, I want you to look at your outline and identify these different parts?
Like, here's my intro, here's my...
Right.
That's great.
Would that be an assessment, a way of assessing that?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. I like I like your idea, Sheila, of the outline, because then there's this visual document that they can refer to when they identify things.
Mm-hmm.
And so what about transitions? How would we assess that?
I don't know. Can we just say that each paragraph has a transition? There's so many ways to transition. Each new paragraph has a clear that's not really measurable, is it? To say has, that there is one. There is a transition there. It's not.
Well, you could think of it this way too. Let's say their final, and maybe you look at it as a summative. Let's say they're going to have to write a 5-paragraph essay, and that's let's say that's their performance standard. So this might be even before they're actually writing the essay. Like, how would you assess that they even know? For instance, are they supposed to be able to create a transition? Are they supposed to be, we have them identifying the parts of the essay. Are they supposed to identify transitions too, or are they just supposed to, enabling knowledge might be, oh, I know what one is. So I guess that's kind of, it would be very dependent upon the kids you're working with too. Maybe
Yeah.
this is a new concept, or maybe this is something that they're practicing.
Right. I mean, I like create transitions.
Okay. And I think this is good because we're not talking yet about, okay, the formative assessment mechanism we'd use, although as teachers we kind of leap to that next step. But so we have our learning objective. We know what they're doing to show mastery, and we have 3 sub-skills, and we know how we're going to be assessing those sub-skills. And that was really cool because that was hard work. It took a lot of thinking.
Of course. It did.